Hey, you guys are listening to Guys at 5 on Mondays, and I'm here, me, Cynthia, and Cliff, and Eileen, and our science correspondent. Woo!
She blinded me with science.
Oh, man. Now I want to hear the rest of that. Oh, man. It's Jennifer. Hi.
Yay! Hello, everyone.
All right.
What a great theme song, huh?
Yeah,
It's
really.
fabulous.
I wonder if somebody just had a segment of that. We already do. That's fantastic. Thank you for giving us that. Yeah.
Is this loud enough?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Just try to be as boistrous as the rest of us. Although it's
yeah.
hard to sail that wave.
Yeah. Hard to compete. Sure.
So Jennifer, what do you have for us today?
Well, I wanted to tell you about a really exciting thing that I've come across this past couple of weeks. Some advances in an artificial retina.
Ooh.
Yeah, to address blindness. And this actually has some personal meaning for me because both of my brothers are blind and from retinal disease. And so this latest advance is going to address all retinal diseases. So I just wanted to briefly say kind of what that is. So the retina is on the back of your eye. It's a layer of these cells that translate the image that you see into electrical impulses, and then it translates it to your optic nerve, and then your optic nerve, your brain, translates it back into an image. So it's basically, you see light, but really what your brain is inputting is just electrical impulses.
So the front of the eye is simply taking in the information.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
focusing it.
Yeah, and
So
then the retina is like the little computer that sort of
it's like the back.
encodes it.
It's the layer on the back of your eye, and it's filled with cells. And some of the cells are for night vision. Some of them are for color. And in some of these diseases, like retinitis pigmentosa, and some of these other for diabetes and macular degeneration, you've been hearing a lot about in the news. There's a problem with the cells. And so they start dying. And so your brain can't get any inputs coming in. So this artificial retina is an effort to kind of bypass those cells with an electrical array that's put on the back of your eye. And there's a camera that's looking out. So instead of your eye receiving the image, there's a video camera that receives the image.
Wow.
And it translates it into electrical impulses. So then you bypass the dead photoreceptor cells, and the electrical images go back to your optic nerve, and then your brain retranslates it back into an image.
Wow.
Now, aren't there a million reasons why a retina would go bad or be damaged? I mean, is it something where they really understand all those different contributing concepts, or is it just the beginnings of this and they're just kind of trying to see if any of it will work?
Well, there's a bunch of reasons why your retina cells die. Some of them are hereditary, gene-related mutations. That's what retinitis pigmentosa is. There's also age-related degradation of the retina, and that's more common in macular degeneration. So it shows up in older people, and they're saying, as our population ages, the incidence of these kinds of diseases are going to rise quite a bit. And they're
now rise because it's getting worse, or just because the proportion is that we have that many more older people?
Yes, the proportion.
Yeah.
And also in diseases like diabetes, the incidence of diabetes is going up. And so some of the complications with diabetes, one of them is a retinal disease, is also going to go up. So these kinds of advances are really, really important.
Is this the same kind of concept of a cochlear implant? In the sense that it's getting information from the universe and putting it in.
Yeah, in a way, because your brain really can only take in electrical information. Okay. So whether it's being translated from a sound wave into an electrical impulse or from a light into electric impulse, that is the translation that needs to happen. So once we figure all that stuff out, and we figure out the encoding mechanism that goes from image to electrical impulse or sound wave to electrical impulse, then we can bridge that gap and
It's amazing.
recreate the sensations in the brain.
So how far is it?
Well, this particular device that I'm telling you about is a company called Second Sight, and they have FDA approval of a device, and they're implanting them in 12 different hospitals across the country. So,
What do you mean implanting them? Meaning they'll be able to use them?
Well, there is an implant piece that actually
see.
gets the electrode array is actually implanted in your eye. So then you wear these glasses that have a camera on them, but there is. The electrical stimulation happens actually in your physical eye that stimulates the optic nerve.
What
And they-
material is it that it's made out of?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like a computer chip, really.
Wow.
And have they already had people say that they can see? I know you were sort of saying to me about you're seeing not the whole picture.
Yeah,
what
it's
are you-
still pretty rudimentary in that if you think about pixels and the resolution on your TV screen or something, it doesn't have a very high resolution yet. So, but as computers evolve and as this technology evolves, they'll be able to get finer and finer resolution, so that blind people will be able to not just see light and dark or edges of objects, but actually recognize your face.
That's incredible. Can you imagine the person
amazing.
who's been married to someone and has never seen them? Even if they could see a blunt outline, would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've often heard in science that what America's good at is and I don't know where I've heard it, but so it could be false. But I'll just start off with that. How about that? Is that what we're really good at here with chips and stuff like that? Is once the idea is formed, that we can really advance that quickly. Once
Yeah.
they've always said that other people may come up with the idea, but America can speed the you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
speed
yeah,
the generations of improvement really fast on
Yeah.
it or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you become a candidate for that?
Well, I don't know. I think,
Yeah.
right now it's a very high cost device, which
Yeah.
is another issue.
Yeah.
So I think they're selecting people for these implants based on who can afford them, which is always the problem.
Yeah.
It was just approved a couple of months ago.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there are some other approaches that are being taken with stem cell research and with gene therapy. And something I read that was kind of interesting, Steve Wynn, if you know, he's a casino mogul
Yeah.
in Las Vegas. He actually has retinitis pigmentosa. And he has just given a huge $25 million grant to the University of Iowa that's working
fantastic.
on this stem cell research
Wow.
for this, which is a different approach. But
it's funny. It's almost perverse, but it's kind of like when Magic Johnson got AIDS. One of the thoughts that I had was, okay, well, he's going to have, you kind of actually want a really wealthy person to want to move it ahead because you go, well, they're going to have the resources if there's anybody who does to
Yeah.
figure it out, kind of,
and the visibility,
Yeah.
Right.
all the
Yeah.
press
Yeah.
was there when
Yeah,
he made
yeah.
this gift, and
Yeah.
they dedicated the building to him,
Yeah.
and so all of a sudden now people are paying attention to the disease and the advances.
Jennifer,
That's
maybe
incredible.
you've been there for something like, but once something's funded like this, is this just an amazing? It must be an amazing team of people who then just go through possibilities. It must be kind of such a cutting edge idea. There's so much of life where people are just moving the widget, but something like this is something where it's just at its core so unbelievably inventive because they're inventing.
Yeah. Well, and in something like this, there are pockets of people all over.
Yeah.
So there's lots of universities. There's several companies, and they're all working on different approaches. So it'll come to fruition, and soon it'll be a
It's incredible.
Mainstream.
It's incredible.
Say what you were saying. You said to me at lunch one day that something about at one point somewhere down the road they don't expect there to be any disabilities really.
Yeah, I read that because a recent issue of Smithsonian Magazine, there was on the cover was this bionic man. So they had put together all of the artificial organs that were in existence or under development, and they all put it into one skeleton, basically. And they said, there's making so many advances with stem cell research and with these hybrid organs that they felt in 10, 20 years there really wasn't going to be anything like a disability.
Now, also, you were talking about how with the retina, that once they figure out the code to the impulse, they can go the opposite way. Weren't you telling me that?
Well, they've actually had more success with that, and that is the motor prostheses. So you may have seen there's a translation. So you think about something. So now the other way, your brain is thinking something and it's generating an electrical impulse and it goes out, and that's what's firing your muscles to move your arm when you think about moving your arm. So they've actually already done that part where they can receive the electrical impulses and translate that into what you want to do.
Yeah.
But the going the other way has been more of a challenge. And if you
Yeah.
think about an image and how complicated that is, and
Yeah,
all
the
the light-
processing on the one part must just be insane.
yeah, and it's all changing every millisecond. Your image is changing. Wow! So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. What? we're hitting each other over here, as only married couples can do that unspoken language. What else do you have for us? Is there anything else you want to throw in there?
Well, I mean, I could tell you about other approaches to this disease.
Yeah.
Like stem cells. You probably have heard a lot about stem cell research. So stem cells are basically, a cell that can be programmed to be anything. It's like the potential of anything. And so the idea is to take a cell that has the potential to become anything and make it into the kind of cell that you wanted. So in this case, you want to grow new retinal cells because those are the ones that have died. So you take a cell from the adult, actually, so now the advance is they take personalized cells. So they would take a sample from you and they would cultivate your cells and they would change your cells into retinal cells. Then they would grow them up in the petri dish, and then the goal is to then re-inject them back into your retina and have them take and have them function as retinal cells. So you're basically replacing your mutated cells with healthy retinal cells. And so that's the kind of stuff that
amazing.
University of Iowa is working on, and that's why they received this grant.
It's incredible.
That's the best, quickest definition of stem cells I've ever heard.
I know.
I mean, I just have never heard it said that clearly before. But then when you say you could take some of my cells, you mean wouldn't they have to be my stems? They could just be from
Well,
me?
see, now this is some of the advances. So the embryonic stem cell research, that was all the controversy, taking the
Right.
embryos. But this now, they're finding that there are some cells in your skin that can be cultivated into stem cells. So basically,
That's amazing.
you're bypassing, you don't need to start with the embryonic cells. And in fact, it's probably better because you're using your own cells. You're not using some generic embryonic cells that are in a lab that you buy from the lab. You're actually targeting the individual.
That's
And then-
great.
That just has to open up to a million things if
I
that
know,
really
it
works.
does. It does.
Oh
Well,
my gosh.
they're not there yet.
Yeah.
But in this particular instance, they have taken the cells from Steve Wynn. In fact, cultivated his.
They have little
cells.
casino when they put them on everything. It goes ding
Yeah,
ding ding.
yeah.
ding. Okay, sorry.
Wheel of cells.
Okay, sorry. They've taken Steve Wynn. Go ahead. Sorry.
They got stem cells from his skin cells, and then they made them into immature retinal cells, and they injected them into a mouse, and then and they took in the mouse. So that was a big step in stem cell research. And so, yes, you can imagine the applications for this when they actually can crack this methodology of taking cells, modifying them, re-injecting them back in, and correcting your cells. I mean,
Wow,
diabetes,
that's
you can
amazing.
put you
Yeah.
can put islet cells back in your pancreas. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is cellular based, really.
Yeah.
Diseases. So
And
very
did some of
exciting.
that come around when there was such a threat about, well, it's still there, but from so many people about, cease and desist from using stem cells, and it was the fountain of all knowledge, and we were getting rid of it or something. But maybe that's what hastened that curve
I'm
a
not
little.
sure. I think I'm not a cell biologist, but I think they have found more success using adult cells. So they just didn't think they could reprogram them. And this whole idea of reprogramming, they thought they had to start with the
Yeah.
basic potential cell.
How do you reprogram it?
I
Is it
couldn't
like-
begin to
is it
explain
like-
that to you.
Yeah.
Is it like?
Well, it's
nucleus
basically
thing, or-
cultivating from from the potential of anything.
Right.
You tell it what you want it to become.
Right.
So you're not really reprogramming it. You're
Guiding.
you're coaxing it
Coaxing
into
it.
what you want
Got
it to be.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
mean-
just fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you
it
want
really
it-
is.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Take that, other guys at 5 shows. You don't have our science correspondent, Jennifer. Play it. Go.
She blinded me with science.
It's so British, isn't it? Yeah. It's just so British. She blinded me with science. I'm so glad you're doing this. And as you said, it's just so hopeful. It's just great to think that, we might get something taken care of in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just wonderful.
Positive news.
Yeah, well, thank you,
You're
Jennifer.
welcome. You're welcome. It's great to be
yay.
here.
Yeah, come back every Monday, every single Monday.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Bye.
Let's play a tune. And